Teamwork makes the dream work, don't it?
Amen to that. One take, Jake, Caleb.
All right. Well, we have a loaded show for you guys. Like I said, college football starts this weekend. Still, NFL stuff is going on. Lots of cuts, lots of trades, lots of stuff going down that we'll go over. And Gerardo's got a little something for you as far as a long-term projection for what's going to be the college football playoff, who's going to come out victorious as champion, who's winning all the conferences, the big ones. We don't care about the MAC or, the Big
pretty
East.
Much the significant big players in the college football scene.
Although I'm sure people want to know, like, what your thoughts are on Montana State trying to, win back the Big Sky Conference Championship.
I mean, I'm sure they'll do decent in the respective conference in which they reside in that I have no idea of.
The Big Sky Conference.
Wonderful. You know what? I bet you they're going to finish top half or possibly bottom half of that division. So
they might just finish in the middle. You don't know.
Exactly.
But, Gerardo, welcome back. like you're a guest here. All right, let's get right into it. We're going to start off with the NFL news, a little bit of housekeeping, because that's the easy ones to get out of the way. We want to save you the meat and potatoes so you'll stick around and, watch the whole thing through. So let's get these notes out of the way, shall we?
Oh, yeah.
The Las Vegas Raiders were active since we last spoke. They traded a 2026 fifth-round pick for quarterback Kenny Pickett, formerly of the Cleveland Browns. They signed Amari Cooper. And in turn, wide receiver Jacoby Myers wants out. It appears that contract talks have kind of hit a standstill. Jacoby Myers, former Patriot, kind of like one of the better slot receivers in the league. I would imagine he's in that top half, maybe even top 10. What do you make of all this Raiders stuff going down?
So first and foremost, we did talk about the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation that we had going in last time we talked, and obviously Kenny Pickett was a part of that conversation, but I believe it's because AOC ended up getting hurt. I believe he's done for the year, and that's why they traded for Kenny Pickett.
He's out at least a couple months. Let me look.
Exactly. And them bringing Amari Cooper in is because they are fully wanting to move on from Jacoby Myers. The thing is, though, that teams want the Raiders to pick up his $14 million pay. And the Raiders said they're not going to do that. So that's kind of like the standstill that we're getting into with that. Amari Cooper had a pretty decent, I would say, for the Bills last year. And coming back to the Raiders, that's actually a good move for them, especially with Geno Smith there at quarterback. A lot of people are criticizing the Geno Smith move, but I've said that, look, the dude led the league in completion percentage the last 2 years. And then the year prior before that, he led the lead in passing. So I think getting him another weapon in Amari Cooper, I think it's just a good move. And then Kenny Pickett is just a solid backup.
Yeah. As far as Amari Cooper last year, he obviously got traded from the Browns to the Bills 6 games into the year. He finished with a little over 500, 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. Looks like 44 catches on 80 something targets. Certainly not the guy he used to be back in 2023, going for 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns, or even back in the day in his prime when he was with the Raiders, going for 1,000 yards. The Cowboys.
Yep.
He's obviously on the wrong side of 31 years old. But it's a guy that can fill in for Jacoby Myers when they eventually trade him. And I did look it up. AOC has a fractured wrist. He'll be out at least 6 to 8 weeks as it looks. And so they brought in Kenny Pickett just as a guy who's played in the NFL before, has won games, can more than adequately fill that spot where he couldn't in Cleveland with 2 higher upside rookies that they want to kind of focus in on while old man Joe Flacco takes the last little stab at it.
Exactly.
The Raiders were active.
And we kind of felt this way too about Kenny Pickett, though, that we just felt that he was always going to be the second stringer, just kind of like what Jameis Winston is out there for the Giants. Like Jackson Dart is maybe labeled as the third stringer, but in reality, if Russell Wilson goes down, Jackson Dart's going in, and like Jameis is always the backup. Same thing with Kenny Pickett. He's always just the backup. So it's just a good move for the Raiders to have some sort of reassurance. And we kind of knew that this was going to happen with a lot of teams that have a lot of quarterbacks on their rosters. Same thing with like the Eagles. The Eagles carried a bunch of talented quarterbacks over there. And I believe also.
And they cut our guy, Kyle McCord.
I love Kyle McCord too.
Me too. I'm right there with you.
I just think that he was, but like the quarterback they had was their third stringer this year, the guy from Stanford.
Tanner McKee. Yep.
He was really good preseason wise too. And then you just knew that there was just not going to be enough. You're not going to carry that many players on the roster. Outside of that, speaking of quarterbacks, the Saints announced Spencer Rattler as QB1. And
yep, they told Tyler to get the shuck out of here. He's not ready.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they're both going to see playing time this year. And we've talked about how bad the Saints are this year. All that cap manipulation they've been doing for the years has been absolutely terrible, and it's finally paying the price. Kellen Moore gets a free year, essentially, being a head coach and just evaluating talent. And I just think that neither one of these quarterbacks are the quarterbacks of the future for the Saints.
No, I would say it's pretty unlikely, and it's pretty likely that they'll finish in the top half of that draft order, if not the top 5, if not have the number 1 overall pick to get whatever quarterback they happen to entice to maybe come out of college. You never know with quarterbacks these days and how much money they're making in college. Some guys might be patient. All right. Now let's get into some contract stuff. First things first, Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals has ended his holdout, has not gotten the long-term deal he was looking for, but he gets $30 million for 1 season. He'll be a free agent at the end of the year. This kind of kicks the can down the road for discussions and just gets him on the field as the Bengals need him most, because I believe they still haven't signed Shamar Stewart to his contract yet.
Nope.
And that defense is barren of talent. And now they get one of the better pass rushers in the league, if not like a top 5, top 3 pass rusher in football. This is a smart move for Hendrickson. Do the Bengals get more out of this than Hendrickson does, even if it's $30 million for a season? Like, what do you make of this? Obviously, we didn't really chat about the Hendrickson situation in our last episode because we just kind of assumed that this would come to an end. Sooner rather than later.
The thing is, it was just so awkward at first, right? Because he was sitting out and he was taking all these penalties for sitting out. Then he shows up to practice and then he's like, oh, well, I'm not negotiating with them because we're nowhere near the number. But it's like, but you came back though. Like your holdout was kind of like a non-factor at this point. And then now you only get a $14 million raise on your last, and which is a great payday for him. Granted, $30 million in 1 season is pretty nice. But I do think the Bengals are just looking at it this way in the sense of, yes, having a good pass rusher is really good, but like the rest of our defense is complete crap. And Trey Hendrickson, am I thinking that he is going to be a top 3 pass rusher again? Maybe this would be his last season of it, but you wouldn't think that like locking him down for like 4 years, even that's going to be a cap hit in which why their defense cannot be rebuilt, because they fully invested into their offense already. They did Joe Burrow, they did T. Higgins, they did Jamar. And I just think that after this year, Trey Hendrickson will not be a Bengal. I think that this is his last big pay raise with the Bengals, and then that's it.
So I'm an idiot. Shamar Stewart, wait, what?
Has he shown up to camp? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So he's already there.
Stewart to join Bengals as rookie reaches deal. This was a month ago. I don't know how this flew under our radar. This was one of the bigger stories.
But still, the main point of this is the Bengals defense is going to be 26 to 32 in the league. Like whether or not Trey Hendricks it signs on a long-term deal or not is just you're holding out the rest of the team from improving. And the big reason why they haven't been good is because ever since they lost Jesse Bates at safety, their
secondary hasn't recovered.
Oh yeah, and their linebacker, they have Wilson, but that's about it. Other than that, I don't think that Trey Hendrickson is going to be seeing another contract with the Bengals. I think that's it.
If not because he's older and guys don't want to invest in older pass rushers, it's because the Bengals don't want to pay.
I mean, yeah. On top is two factors. You're on a notoriously cheap team, and on top of that, like he is plateauing right now on his talent. And but on top of that too, the biggest thing that he can argue is that outside of Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, he is third in sacks for I think like the last 3 years.
He's coming off back-to-back 17.5 sack years.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And 14 and 13.5 in 2020 and 2021.
Mm-hmm. So he's, like I said, eventually this production is going to come down. The Bengals are just counting that this may be like a 13 sack season, and they're going to be like, there we go. Like, we're not signing you again. Like, that's it.
Another contract with figures above $30 million.
Oh,
Terry
yeah.
McLaurin ends his hold in, I guess we want to call it. Signs a 3-year, $96 million deal to stay with the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels gets his safety blanket back. All seems good in the nation's capital, football wise. What do you think of this? We all like the Hendrickson thing. I feel like we both kind of assumed that this was going to end the way it did. Terry getting a deal, and we're all just going to move about. No big deal.
Yeah, it's the thing is with this one was Terry McLaurin. This is his last big contract he's seeing for the rest of his career. He's not going to be in. Washington's also under a new ownership group as well too, and this is their first big contract negotiating that they're dealing with, and this kind of sets the precedent of what the rest of their ownership is going to look at. The fact that they didn't cave in, they met in the middle. They gave him essentially what? That's 33 a year. No, 32 a year, which was in the middle of what they wanted. I believe they were going to give him like 29. That's what it's saying. And he was asking for 35. And there you go. On 3 years. And by those 3 years, right? And because it's an extension, I believe it's not like a new contract.
Right.
So it's 4 years from now, which guess what that means? That's Jaden Daniels. What? That'd be his 5th-year option year. So,
and you're going to sign him to an extension if you want to keep him at that point.
Yeah, and then that's where Terry McLaurin's production will probably decrease by then, and then Jaden Daniels' contract situation is going to be up, and so you're about to get off the books on Terry, and then you're going right into Jaden Daniels. So it's really smart move by the Commanders on this one, especially to invest while you have a young quarterback.
Isn't it crazy to like see this Washington Commanders team like make smart football decisions after years and years and years of the Snyder ownership?
The craziest part about this is that Jaden Daniels will be the first time ever that a Washington football team has had back-to-back starters since Kirk Cousins, like starting week 1. Be the first time ever.
First time since Kirk Cousins they've had different week 1 starters?
Yep.
That's insane to think about.
Yep. They've never had the same week 1 starter since Kirk Cousins left, I believe.
Somebody put Jaden Daniels in bubble wrap for like the next week.
Better hope. Better hope. But yeah, no, good deal. I give that like a solid A deal for them, especially and also history has shown that when you have a young quarterback and you give them a wideout, that it always works out best. It happened with Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. It happened with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. It happened. I mean, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase kind of came at the same time. Same with T. Higgins. So that's like a little bit different.
Tua and Tyreek when we all thought Tua was really good.
Yep. The one team, ironically, throughout that process that didn't do it when they had a young quarterback was Deshaun Watson when he was with the Texans. They got rid of this best quarterback. I mean, best wide receiver at that time. They got rid of Hopkins, and they didn't surround him with no weapons. So I just think
Justin Herbert's kind of going through that right now.
And that's a little bit unfortunate because like when they're cheap and young, that's when you need to go get the big weapon, give them on a 3-year contract just like this and be like, all right, when it's time to sign this dude to a big extension, this wide receiver is probably done for already.
Now Herbert's got to pair up with guys like Ladd McConkey and Trey Harris and the corpse of Keenan Allen. Not that Ladd McConkey is a bad receiver, but it's not the type of receiver you want to give your superstar young franchise quarterback. Like now it feels like the Chargers kind of missed the window on that, and now they got to build the team.
Like, you know
some
what
other way.
would have been awesome, and it probably would have gone against maybe, I don't know, your Joe Burrow pick, but if T Higgins would have walked, that would have been a sick team for the Chargers to get.
Absolutely, like it would have been what you wanted Quentin Johnston to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Shout out to Quentin Johnston. I don't know how he's still in the league.
That is, what was it that I called him? I called him Kevin White 2.0. If people don't remember Kevin White from West Virginia.
I loved him.
Yeah, everybody did. And I just said, this dude from TCU is the same thing. I have seen this movie before. You're just a big height, weight, speed kind of guy with not that much productivity, like at all career wise. And then all of a sudden, you're supposed to be like the second coming of like Megatron. No, like stop it.
I had a bad case of the dropsies for a long time.
What a shot Kevin White did too. So
Kevin White couldn't stay on the field either.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna save this next one for last. So let's keep going down the list. More wide receivers. Rashee Rice caught a 6-game suspension from the league. This was after a very like intense and almost public dispute between the NFL and the NFLPA. The NFL wanted to give him 10 games for that street racing incident.
Yeah, the street racing hit and run, I believe, right? And
yeah,
it was
so
like,
the not to get into all the legality details that I don't want to get wrong in case that somebody important is watching, but essentially Rashee Rice was in a motor vehicle contest on the highway, I believe, caused an accident. Nobody was killed, thank God. And he straight up kind of just left the scene. No real second thought, just got into somebody else's car and left. And this has just been a back and forth between the league and the PA. The league wanted to give him 10 games. The PA said you're out of your mind. And we ended up getting to 6 games. So Gerardo, does the punishment fit the crime? Where do you kind of fall on this spectrum without getting too into the weeds on it? Like, what are kind of your general thoughts? And how does this affect the Chiefs this year? Because Mahomes already doesn't have a ton of weapons to work with across that offense. Travis Kelce is getting older and a little more occupied, as we'll get to a little bit later.
Yes.
Xavier Worthy is a nice player. He's not Tyreek Hill by any means. I don't think he'd be the wide receiver one if Rashee Rice was available. And then I can't even name their third receiver.
Yeah,
so,
they got rid of.
What do you make of this?
So with this, I mean, I really do think that when it comes to the NFL, when it comes to suspending players, the longer you kind of fight with them, the worse they're going to kind of make it. So like, I'm not one to judge of what this type of incident, like what reflects on that type of punishment. I do not know what like the true details of it, but I do think that sometimes the NFL does get a bit petty. Like if you like, I don't know if the NFLPA was like, oh, he shouldn't get no suspension. Like if they said that, the NFL's like, no.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Yeah. Guess what? We were going to be okay with 2 games, but now you're getting 6. Like that's how they kind of reflect that. But I think when we talked about it in our preview show that I don't really care who the wide receivers are for Patrick Mahomes are at this point. It's just Patrick Mahomes. Like he's in this like realm right now where it does not matter who's catching the ball from him. At the end of the day, it's still Patrick Mahomes. He has been great without great wide receivers. He has won Super Bowls without great wide receivers. Yes, him and Tyreek Hill and him and Travis Kelce had unbelievable chemistry.
Ooh, boy, this wide receiver room is kind of is rough.
Yeah, because they also got rid of another top receiver they had. He was wearing number 24. I think it was like Sky Moore. They also got rid of him. He's no longer there.
Little gadget guy. They got Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you feel about Jalen Royals coming out of the draft this year, but he's there too.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like I said, I think it doesn't really that matter. Like Rashee Rice wasn't moving the needle as is. Like he isn't the end all be all. So I just still think I still have the Chiefs winning the division or not losing to the Broncos like at 13 games and they take a loss here and there. Like I think they're fully on revenge tour this year. I fully believe that. I think that the Chiefs are just like Yeah, like they're the new NFL bad guys. Like they're kind of getting into that realm in their dynasty where they are just like everybody doesn't like us anymore. The whole like it's funny because they have like so many different storylines, right? You had the super fan that was Robin Banks. You also had this Rashid Rice thing going on. You have Travis Kelsey and the Swifties, like that whole thing. And people just don't like winners, consistent winners. We love you when you're an underdog. But the moment you win too much, and now my favorite team can't win no more, then it's a problem. And I think that's in the realm that we're getting into because me and you also even talk about this. Sometimes we even see discussions of like Andy Reid can't win a Super Bowl without Patrick Mahomes. We are now into those discussions of like, is Andy Reid that good of a head coach without Patrick Mahomes, or is
Feels
Patrick
like
Mahomes?
we're on like a 20-year cycle of these things, doesn't it?
Mhm. Yeah, and that's what happens with dynasties is that eventually people are going to doubt you, which they should, and then you have to prove the doubters again and again and again. And I think that this is just a Chiefs going back to the Super Bowl this year, and we're all going to be not surprised. And whether they win or lose this time, probably against the Eagles or whoever it may be, then we're going to see like we're eventually going to get into the conversation of like, all right, if you just hate him, it's because you're just a hater, not because you're objectively like saying any statistical fact that Patrick Mahomes is not a good quarterback. No, he is the cream of the crop.
You know, eventually the Patrick Mahomes sucks thing just kind of turns into like this childish,
Yeah,
like,
you're just not a Chiefs fan. I get it,
what are
but
you
yeah,
gonna
mm-hmm.
do? All right, we'll keep it Chief style. Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift announced their engagement this week.
Mm-hmm.
We hopped on that bandwagon, shouting out
Oh
their
yeah, of
new
course.
shouting out their new engagement. Hopefully, they send the EU guys an invitation, at least to the after party. Um, yeah, and like this just kind of took social media by storm, as these two kind of do. I mean, every celebrity posting something about it. The NHL, which has like nothing to do with the Kansas City Chiefs, with Taylor Swift, with Travis Kelsey, they posted their congratulations.
I think
Um,
what this does, and this is where I'm going to talk about the whole Taylor Swift and NFL thing. Um, am I a fan of Taylor Swift's music? Absolutely not.
Not really, not for me.
Does not resonate with me. That doesn't mean that I don't think she's incredibly successful. But what I will say is that this does garner new viewership and new people to get invested into the NFL. And that ultimately is a win for the NFL.
This is their golden ticket to get to that women demographic they struggled with for basically our entire lives.
Yep. And on top of that too, I mean like they are on a how do I say this? They're obviously she's dating somebody who's on a very incredibly successful team. Also, Travis Kelsey's a wonderful human being on and off the field, and he has his own podcast and all that other stuff. He's part of a great family of football players too. So it isn't like Taylor Swift just dating some dude in the NFL. It's somebody who actually is a going to be a Hall of Famer in his career.
He's in
Who
talks
has
already for greatest tight end of all time. Like,
Yeah. And so in on top of it too, like it's kind of like this thing of how I feel about like when Elvis was out there. Elvis was both selling I love Elvis t-shirts and I hate Elvis t-shirts. At the end of the day, if you love a team or you hate a team, you're watching the team. And that's all the NFL cares about. And I think that's a wonderful thing for that relationship. And everybody's going to chime into it because this is the closest thing to a royal wedding that
I was about to say, this is America's royal couple.
Oh yeah. But the funniest meme out of this, the number one thing that I got was 100% Travis was going to propose at the Super Bowl. That I fully think that this
Had
was
they
going.
won, yep.
Oh yeah. Like the only reason why they delayed it this long is because they got waxed. Like honest to God. Like I fully believed that he was going to propose and it was going to be a huge like and granted that was going to be the only time that it would have been bigger than right now was that Super Bowl. Like he would have gone on his knee and then proposed to Taylor Swift. And then like it would have been he would have probably either thought about retiring or officially, this is also probably, I think, his last season.
Think so?
I mean, the dude didn't hit 1,000 yards last year. He was very underproductive last year. And if he touches like barely 700 yards this year,
as
Like
the only receiver on that team.
that's what I'm saying. And I think that I think the Eagles kind of ruined his moment this year. I fully believe that he
That
was
was
going to
brutal.
propose, but
I know who's not getting an invite. It's Howie Roseman.
that or any of the other, what was it? Or Cooper DeJean is probably not getting one, or any of the other Eagle players. But at the end of the day, the only Eagle player that will be there is a Kelsey brother. So it's not like the Eagles won't be in the house. So, but congratulations to them. Unbelievably wonderful couple. They are, from all instances, there. I have nothing bad to say about them at all.
Nope. Won't catch that here. More wide receiver stuff. I guess we could have gone either way.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Thielen has reunited with the Minnesota Vikings, hometown kid from Minnesota State or something like that. Spent his basically the most of his career in Minnesota with the Vikings as a very productive wide receiver, the only wide receiver Bill Belichick hated. He goes to Carolina for a little bit, helps mentor Bryce Young over there, and now it's like, okay, time to come home. The Vikings send a 5th and a 6th rounder for Thielen. They get back a package of late round picks. I believe it's like a 6 and a 7 in the future or something like that. But Adam Thielen comes back home, pairs up with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison when he comes back, fits right in.
Oh,
Once
yeah.
more, JJ McCarthy has no excuses.
Oh, 100%. And then on top of that, this just goes down like the list of the Raiders got back Amari Cooper, the Chargers got back Keenan Allen, and then, Adam Thielen came back to Minnesota. And this also just a move that we kind of figured that with Addison being suspended, that you got to get somebody who's probably relatively familiar within that scheme, who's going to help out. And then when Addison comes back, you know that Thielen's just going to go right into the slot. Like, it's a good fit. So it was a good draft capital to get back for him too. Like, I think also, like, if you're getting him for a 5th and a 6th rounder, a package of late practice, he probably is going to get cut. If you're coming off with like that, like they were probably not.
It was like a weird situation because Carolina was kind of over his contract.
Mm-hmm.
And they felt like they couldn't really get out of it. And they knew
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota wanted him back, so they dragged him over the coals to get what they got, that 4th
Oh
and
yeah,
5th.
they were going to move on from him. I fully believe. Like they were like, "Hey, bro, it's either you go for a 7th or bye."
And they
Like
actually got more.
exactly, and I think they kind of guilt tripped the Vikings on that one. But good for them. I think it's a solid move for both parties around. And also on top of that, I think the Panthers are in a really interesting spot because they're investing a lot on young guys on the wide receiver position. And I do like the dude out of South Carolina with a
Leggett,
lovely accent, but I
David
am not
Leggett,
a
yeah.
fan of Ted. I am not a fan of Ted.
Nope,
And I
we've gone over that story.
and I think this losing a veteran guy in Adam Thielen, like a very consistent dude, he may not be what he was back in Minnesota, but at the end of the day, you can at least count on him for Bryce Young.
He's a
Bryce,
guy he's a guy who's going to catch 20, 30, 40 balls
mhm.
and not say a word as he gets drilled. Like
Exactly. And now you are struggling with the guy who doesn't watch tape and a second year guy.
and Jalen
Like,
Coker, if
yeah.
you want to shout him out.
Yeah. Like I just think that it's not a good recipe for the Panthers again this year.
Nope, people might be buying into that stock a little too early.
Yes.
But JJ McCarthy is the big winner out of this one, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you almost kind of say not because of how we feel about pressurizing with him. Like, it's like, dude, we have gave you everything to not fail. If you fail, like, what are we doing here?
All right, did I have one more thing? Okay, yeah. Speaking of the Patriots, they've made a series of cuts today and yesterday. They cut their 2022 first round pick, Cole Strange. They cut 2024 fourth round pick, Javon Baker, and they cut 2021 acquisition, recently given an extension. I want to say in the last year and a half, they gave him a 3-year contract. Kendrick Bourne did ask for his release, wanted a fresh start, and the Patriots granted it to him. The massive overhaul out in New England is still kind of underway. They did pick up a QB3 of a very popular name. You might know him, Gerardo. His name is Tommy DeVito.
Oh, hey, yeah. His agent's the most famous person.
Yeah, Tommy Cutlets is QB3. down in Foxborough. But yeah, this Patriots roster overhaul seems to be only just beginning.
And it's to be expected from a guy like Mike Vrabel. He is going to find out who the people who will want to win for that team and who don't. And if I see all those people getting cut by Mike Vrabel, I feel like they just didn't want to win.
Javon Baker was notorious for kind of being a practice warrior.
Yeah, so
Never really showed up in games, had a big mouth in practice.
Oh, yeah. And I think Mike Vrabel, I mean, this is the dude who bullied Tom
Brady. And Cole
Brady.
Strange just kind of sucked.
Yeah. So this, I mean, your head coach, like the Patriots head coach is the one that bullied Tom Brady. Like, this is the dude who knows what a dog is. I mean, he completely flipped a inept Titans franchise around completely.
Another back on their head.
Exactly. And so I'm it's one of the coaches that I fully trust on who's a real dude and who ain't. And if the Patriots, and also they had a really good offseason, this is probably part of that plan all along.
Yeah, there's certainly an argument to that, but I'm kind of watching the late stages of this preseason, the early stages of this season. Seeing moves like this still kind of like being done, like cutting Cole Strange, releasing Kendrick Bourne, that probably should have been done a couple of months ago. There's just something in me that doesn't feel right about that, and maybe this is just like looking at the Patriots over the last couple of years. I mean, you had dysfunction all over with Gerard Mayo last year. You had dysfunction with Bill Belichick at the end. Stories that a lot of people don't know about that I could go on for ages for no known reason. And it's just like something has me feeling a little uneasy about that. Waiting so long to make those moves Baker probably had a chance to make the team as a 4th round pick last year. Cole Strange, we know that he hasn't been good. They tried him at center at the last game last year. Wasn't really all that good. Kendrick Bourne had all offseason to ask for his release. And I'm assuming they tried to trade him because he's not a terrible receiver by any means. You could probably get a Thielen-ish haul for him. I don't know. Something just says maybe I was a little strong with 10 wins and I should be a little more like 8-9, 9-8.
No, yeah. I mean, like I said, I trust Vrabel's process throughout that. So I think that these are guys that were like fighting.
Doesn't do anything for you. Yeah.
Yeah. I ultimately, if you would have cut them before he showed up or the day before the game, I'd have been like, okay, he just doesn't believe in those guys. Like he probably gave those guys, based on the list, these are guys that he gave benefit of the doubt. That's the reason why they lasted as long as they did. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to wait till the very end to find out if you got a dog in you. And then he found out at the very end. He goes, ain't no dog in them. Bye. I think that's ultimately the decision that was probably made and how he went about it.
Well, they're all ears ahead to week 1 against Las Vegas. They're opening at home for they didn't open at home last year. They didn't do it the year before. No, yes, they did. They opened against the Eagles after they lost Super Bowl against Kansas City. That was Tom Brady's kind of like first game he showed up to New England after retirement.
Yeah.
They had a huge celebration for him. So I'm like, yeah, this is the first time in a couple of years the Patriots have hosted week 1. So we'll see what happens against the Raiders. But different week 1 kind of going down this week.